Welcome to Lesson 3, Functions. So far what we've learned is how to perform individual operations with MATLAB, and we've used MATLAB as a glorified calculator. But now it's time to start programming. You'll remember that we've called a few of MATLAB's built-in functions. For example, to plot lines in a figure, to calculate the square root, to calculate the sine, and to do other things. And there's hundreds more functions that we could call. But what if we need a function that's not provided by MATLAB? Guess what? We can write our own functions, and we can use them just as if they were built into MATLAB. Let's see how. The built-in function named rand creates random numbers between 0 and 1. The numbers are uniformly distributed, and that means that any number in that range is equally likely to be chosen. Here's an example of how we might call it. Creates a 3 by 4 matrix of random numbers between 0 and 1. You can see the first argument gave us the 3, and the second one the 4, the height and the width of the matrix that's returned. And you can see these numbers are all between 0 and 1. But what if we needed random numbers between 1 and 10 instead? It's easy enough. And here's some numbers between 1 and 10. Multiplying by 9 stretch the range to go from 0 to 9, and adding 1 shifts the range to go from 1 to 10. Let's say we need this functionality repeatedly. We could type in this expression every time we need it, but that would be annoying, and more importantly, it would be error prone. We might mistype something one or more of these times, and the result would be wrong, and potentially we might not even notice it. So let's create our own function that does what we want it to do. Then we can just call that function repeatedly. And let's call it myRand. We create a function by using the editor. Let's see what that is. We can get it with the command edit. E-D-I-T, turn. And there's the editor window right there. The editor is the place that you type in code that you can save in a file. And the code we're going to type into the editor will be a function. We type this, function myRand return a equals 1 plus rand 3, 4 times 9 return, and I'm going to put an optional end in here. You'll notice that function and end both turn blue. These are keywords. We'll say something about that a little bit later. The word myRand is, of course, the name of our function. So now what do? Well, we want to be able to run this function. And in order to run the function, we have to save it into a file. MATLAB reminds us that we haven't yet saved it in the file with this little word untitled and this little asterisk right here. Okay, to save our function into its file, we click this little diskette right over here. Up pops our operating system's file save window. And it's suggesting that we name this myRand.m. That's a good idea. This is no time to be imaginative. We're going to name it just that. We could pick another name, but it's very bad practice to do that because it can be very confusing. First off, we should always use the same name for the file, not counting the .m here, that we use for the function name, which is myRand in this case. And second, the .m is required. All MATLAB functions must be stored in files with the extension .m, and as a result, they're all called .m files. Okay, let's save this file. We hit save, and notice that the file is saved right here in the current folder. That's exactly where we want it to be, because that's where MATLAB will look for it when we tell it to run it. Okay, we've opened the editor, We've typed in a function. We've saved it into a file. We can now run it by typing its name in the command window, just like we would for a built-in function. Let's do it. Voila! There's our 3x4 array of random numbers selected from the range 1 to 10.